Okay, let's look at another one from the practice test from this weekend. This one was pretty deep. I think it was 57 or so. And they give us a circle. They give us all this information here. AB is 10, C to D is 14, E is the center, and we're just looking for FE. So just like the last one, we're not going to pause it. We're just going to get right into it. So if E is the center of the circle, right, and it's 14 all the way across, you know, a fairly safe assumption here is that these are just going to be 7. And if AB is going to be 10 across, right, this is just going to be 5 and 5. And they tell you, they gave you these were perpendicular. Sorry about that. And we're just looking for this length, and they're kind enough to give us some answers. So, you know, this is very important because, again, are you going to see this question ever again? Most likely not, but you're going to see stuff that looks pretty similar to it. And so the fundamentals always remain the same. And so length, when they're asking you for the length of a line, you know, typically, it's got to be the Pythagorean theorem, right? Now you could say, that's great there, buddy, there's no triangle. Right, now sometimes there's not going to be a triangle, right? Remember, sometimes we're going to have to create our own triangle. But typically when they're asking you for length, that's going to be our best weapon to figure it out. You know, some other times, you know, what are you going to have? You're going to have maybe some similar triangles, in which case you could use some sort of proportion, right? Something over something is something over something else. That's fair enough. Sometimes, you know, we're going to be able to use SOHCAHTOA or the law of sines. You know, we could use some sort of trigonometry. That's fair enough. Most of the time, and I'm going to put a number on it, I'm going to say 90% of the time on these tests, it's a right triangle. So now you just got to ask yourself, all right, let's see if he's right, you know, where's the triangle? And when it's in a circle, more often than not, you know, kids always hear me say, what's the most obvious line to draw? That line has got to come most all the time from the center. And the reason behind that is because you want to use the radius. You want to use the radius as length. Because, you know, a lot of kids I saw did this. They drew this line, they drew it this way, from F to D or from F to C. But the problem is if I do that, you know, I don't know, let's say, I have no idea what this length is. I mean, I know this is 7. I don't know what that is. That's what we're looking for. But I have not a clue what that is. I'm saying if I look at the other side and I come from the center and I go to the corner, I'm saying we know that length because, right, any line from the center to the edge of the circle is a radius. Well, heck, there's 7. That's the radius. I pop that in there. There's my triangle. Right now I can just do some easy calculations and I should have it. Right, it's just going to be 5 squared, which is 25, plus b squared, whatever you want to call that, is c squared, which is, what, 49. So if I do that math in my head really quickly, that's just the square root of 24, which is just going to give us 2 root 6. So that's how you would do that. You know, if you don't see it, obviously we don't have 10 minutes to sit and look at this thing. You know, you always have to look at the answers. You know, people will tell you, oh, it's not drawn to scale. You know, that's nonsense. On the ACT, unless they explicitly tell you it is not drawn to scale, it is drawn to scale. And, you know, my picture doesn't really do it justice, but the way they had it drawn is, you know, if you said this is the center and you drew straight up, that would obviously be 7, because that's also the radius. There was no way by their picture that you would think it split to 4 and 3. This was actually fairly high up the circle. So really 4 makes no sense. You know, 4 root 6, if you pop that in your calculator, that's going to be bigger than 7. So that makes even little sense. I mean, that makes no sense. If to the top is 7, how could this little thing be more than that? So I think from there you can get rid of 3 of them. And quite honestly, I would always tell kids to guess the simplest looking answer. So in this case, I would tell you to guess 5. You know, obviously it would be wrong, but I think the odds always favor a simple answer. You know, but even such, when you eliminate stupid answers, even though this is a hard one, you can do that. I mean, if you have nothing, I like our chances guessing from 3 a heck of a lot better than I do guessing from 5. But otherwise, always keep this in mind, Pythagorean theorem, drawing lines from the center using that radius.